Buon pomeriggio. Good afternoon, Stephen. Thank you for taking this call. We're doing a multimedia interview today with Zoom and on air. So again, thanks for taking the call and talking to us again.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to be with you. So good afternoon to you and your listeners, or buon giornata. And it really is a pleasure to be back with your listeners. I think particularly in these times when a lot of people have had to stay home more often than they would, they're not able to catch up with family and friends as often. Your radio station plays such an important role keeping people together. So thank you for all that you've been doing, particularly in the last few months.
As you said, it's been a pretty tough period for a lot of people. I was just telling you off here, my mother's in rehab at the moment and I haven't seen her for several weeks. They're looking after her well. We can take in some food every now and then. I just brought a little parcel today just to get something with a bit more flavour and taste than a hospital can provide. But we understand the broader requirements. But actually, let's pursue that for a minute. What's your view, as in the party, around the social and economic impact of the COVID and how we're dealing with it at the moment?
Well, it's been a really challenging time, I think, for everyone, really. We had got through last year on the understanding that once the majority of us had gone and got vaccinated, once we were to hit 80% of the adult population being vaccinated, then we would start to open up to interstate travel and loosen some of the restrictions on the community. And that seemed to get pushed out to then 90%. And eventually when we did open up and cases started coming into South Australia, we had the retightening of restrictions really across the community. You've been restricted from visiting your mother in a rehabilitation care setting or aged care or hospitals, and that's been very difficult for people. It's been really difficult over Christmas, for example. And I know with my Italian family, on my wife's side, how difficult it is even to be limited at 30 people for a household catch-up over Christmas, and then that was further reduced to 10 people over New Year. That really has been trying for a lot of people, people having to stay home. That's been very difficult for the community.
Yes, so that's the social impact. And we've actually been reading, or I've been reading about, say, businesses, encouraging the government to open up or to encourage people to come into the city, to the CBD, to help businesses that are struggling. I guess it's mostly the hospitality sector, but not only that sector that's struggling at the moment.
Well, and they're right to raise those concerns, Business SA, as well as the other representatives of what have been called the hospitality industry, the cafes, the restaurants, the hotels, whether that's the local pub or whether it's the big accommodation hotel in the city. Most days after New Year, right up until really only in the last week, you could fire a cannonball down Rundle Mall and not worry about hitting someone, as well as some of those major shopping precincts like Rundle Street. And that's a real worry. We're used to a couple of 100,000 people coming into the city each day, working, spending their money in those local businesses and then heading back home to the suburbs again. And that just hasn't been happening. So the economic impact has been really substantial. It's been a really good time to have a Coles or a Woolworths to be selling toilet paper. But for a lot of other family-owned small businesses here in South Australia, it's been a really difficult time.
Yes, and how are we going to deal with that? Now, I'm hearing that the Omicron peak might be past, and we will be loosening up some restrictions in the next few weeks. We shall see. And then maybe there'll be another variant. Do you, as a Labor Party, have any proposals about what we're going to do to develop the economy beyond the COVID?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think the principle is for us, if the government is going to stop a small business from being able to trade normally, then it's the government's responsibility to stand next to those businesses and support them financially so they can maintain their livelihood. And in the first year of the pandemic, when the federal government had its JobKeeper program, or even its later version of that, the JobSaver program, that was a lifesaver for so many businesses, being able to pay the wages of their employees and keep those businesses together. But that doesn't seem to be a priority anymore at either federal or state level. And as a result, we've had a lot of small businesses who have struggled through the last 2 years, that were relying on the festive season that's just gone by as a way of trying to get their heads back above water again. And because of the tightening restrictions, that opportunity has been missed. So our view is our small businesses in South Australia need some help straight away. And we've got to try where the health advice lets us. We've got to get these restrictions lifted as quickly as possible so that we can get back to normal.